Socrates died for asking questions. 4 centuries later, a woman in Alexandria asked the same kind of questions. About the stars, about numbers, about the soul. But when she did, they didn't give her a cup of poison. They dragged her from her chariot, stripped her naked, and scraped her flesh from her bones with broken tiles. Inside a church. Her name was Hypatia. And her murder in 415 AD wasn't just the killing of a woman. It was the execution of reason itself. The moment the ancient world chose faith over inquiry, power over truth, and silence over thought. This is the story of the last philosopher of the classical age and the first martyr of science. Alexandria, jewel of the Mediterranean. A city built by Alexander, ruled by Rome, and lit by knowledge. Its great library, though diminished, still held hundreds of thousands of scrolls. Its streets echoed with Greek, Latin, Coptic, and Aramaic. Scholars came from Persia, India, Gaul, all to study at the Museum, the ancient world's first university. And at its heart stood a woman unlike any other.
The universe unfolds before us.
Hypatia was not just a teacher. She was a phenomenon. Tall, graceful, with eyes that seemed to see beyond the veil of things. She wore the plain white robes of a philosopher, not the silks of a noble. She walked through the city unescorted, unheard of for a woman. Yet no one dared insult her. Students said she didn't just teach mathematics, she made numbers sing. She didn't just explain the stars, she made you feel their motion. And when she spoke of Plato, it was as if the old master had returned to earth. Born around 355 AD, Hypatia was the daughter of Theon, a mathematician and astronomer, who raised her not as a daughter, but as a mind. Together they studied Euclid, Ptolemy, Diophantus. She improved astronomical instruments, the astrolabe, the hydroscope, tools that would guide sailors and scientists for centuries. But her true genius was synthesis. She didn't just preserve knowledge, she expanded it. In her lectures, she wove together philosophy, science, and spirituality. She taught that the cosmos was ordered, not by gods hurling thunderbolts, but by mathematical harmony. The truth could be found not in dogma, but in observation, logic, and wonder. And she did it all as a woman, in a world that believed women could not think, only obey, bear children, stay silent. Yet, men, governors, generals, scholars, came to her classroom like pilgrims. Among them, Cyril, nephew of the powerful Archbishop Theophilus. At first, he attended her lectures. He admired her, but admiration in the heart of a future tyrant can turn to resentment. Especially when the teacher is a woman and the student is a man who believes God speaks through him alone. By 412 AD, Cyril became Archbishop of Alexandria, and the city changed. The old spirit of inquiry, the Hellenistic dream of knowing, began to suffocate. Temples were destroyed, synagogues burned, Philosophers were called pagans, a word that now meant enemy. Hypatia remained. She refused to convert, not out of defiance, but because she would not lie. She said, "I worship the one truth, and that truth has no name." But to Cyril, her independence was a threat. Not because she was pagan, but because she was influential. Because the Roman governor, Orestes, was her student, her friend, and her ally. Because when he made decisions, people said, Hypatia advised him. In a city where power was shifting from the state to the church, a woman who shaped politics through reason was more dangerous than an army. So the rumors began. She's a witch. She uses magic to control the governor. She blasphemes against Christ. And slowly the people were turned, not by logic, but by fear, by the oldest weapon of power, the demonization of the thinker. March 415 AD, Hypatia was returning from the museum in her chariot, wrapped in her philosopher's cloak. A mob waited, not common criminals, but parabolani, monks loyal to Cyril. Men who claimed to serve God, but carried tiles and oyster shells like weapons. They pulled her from the chariot, stripped her, dragged her into the Caesarion, the great church of Alexandria. There, under the gaze of painted saints and golden icons, they beat her. Then, with sharpened tiles, they scraped the flesh from her bones, a method so brutal it was reserved for heretics. When she was dead, they cut her body into pieces and burned what remained. No trial, no verdict, just silence. And in that silence, the ancient world ended. Hypatia did not die for a religion. She died for a principle.
Please stop!
That the mind must be free. That truth belongs to no one. Not the state, not the church, not even the scientist. It belongs to the act of seeking. Her murder was not an accident of history. It was a warning. Whenever a society begins to fear questions, whenever it elevates obedience over curiosity, whenever it confuses faith with control, the light begins to fade. Socrates died with dignity. Hypatia died in agony. But both proved the same truth. The most dangerous person in any age is the one who thinks freely. The library declined. The schools closed. The questions stopped. For centuries, no one would dare ask, what is the nature of the stars? Not because they didn't wonder, but because they remembered what happened to the woman who did. Imagine the ruler of the entire Roman Empire, the most powerful man on earth, laying down his crown to grow cabbages. His name was Diocletian, a peasant who became emperor, a tyrant who saved Rome, and the only man in history to retire and live to tell about it. Next episode, Diocletian, the emperor who quit. If you believe that wisdom is not in taking power, but in knowing when to release it, subscribe now. The journey continues.